Hi, my name is Stefen, and I've been a participant in Mindset for 2 years now. And the question of how has minimum wage affected my life is funny because it's affected my life even before I was actually born. Uh, my stepdad would tell me stories about growing up in Philadelphia in the 80s and moving out when he wasn't even 17 years old. And he had his own apartment, had two cars. He would tell these stories all the time. And I used to feel like he was calling us lazy when I was like 15 because he was like, "Why don't you get a job?" And I would try and I would tell him, "Look, man, they don't want to hire teenagers. And then also, I don't really think I can go live off of how much money they're paying me these days." And people often don't pay attention to certain things. So it's lost on them how the cost of living has really changed. And he, he came to believe me later on. And I did get a job eventually, working like 40 hours a week when I was still a teenager to save up money to get a car. And I did it and used that car, and I started college, and then I was working at a movie rental store, and that was only at 8.50 an hour. So after paying car insurance, cell phone bill, I think I might have had $100 for 2 weeks. It's not a lot of money. And the only people I knew my age who could even have an apartment when I was 19 in college were people who worked at a casino, and a lot of them were waitresses. So they were making a flat rate, and then based off of tips, they were making that work. And even then, they still had family to help. And then I got a job as a home health aide, making $10 an hour, which at the time was the most money I'd made. But car broke down, needed a new car. So I had to work 16-hour days just to save up the money to make that happen. And after a year at that job, I got a job as a Google Ads rater for $15 an hour. But I couldn't work more than 30 hours a week. And one day I was sitting around thinking about how much money I made and mad that I couldn't work more because then it meant I could save money. And I realized I wasn't overworked. I realized I wasn't not working hard. I was underpaid, but I didn't know what to do about that. And about a year or so ago, I worked as a census field supervisor, most money I'd ever made in my life. And at that point, I was able to pay off any credit card debt I had and actually save money. And I was working like 16, 12-hour days for that. But I didn't mind because I was actually making money so I could actually save money and then not have to worry about different things. It's a government job, but it's different than having a minimum wage. And when I think about this question, the concept for me is, oh, underpaid whole time, just underpaid. I, I've known people who worked in hospitals and they said they have a hard time hiring staff. And I asked them how much they start people off at, and they said $9 an hour. And I said, why would they work here when they could go work at Shake Shack and make $14 an hour starting off? You underpay people, they're not going to want to come work for you. So the question is, how is minimum wage affecting my life? The fact that I have to make a detailed video about my life, about how minimum wage has affected it, to attempt to appeal to someone who already makes a lot of money and therefore makes them segregated from the lives of everyday people because of the amount of money they make, probably speaks to the effect of having a lower minimum wage and how it affects myself and other people in the world.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mika Outlaw, and I am an ECS Mindset participant. This is my second year speaking at this forum, and I'm very excited. Where my story actually begins is I am somebody that actually, when I started the mindset program, I had a job and I had a good job making $42,000 a year, a little bit over 42,000 a year in a nonprofit. But that wasn't my first love. My first love is actually education and teaching. And so at the end of 2020, I took a job teaching and I took about a $8,000 pay cut. So my new salary was $35,000 and I was okay with that. That following January, we were told that the school would be closing for good and that I could apply for unemployment. And as long as I stayed until the end of the school year, I would receive a $2,500 bonus. Plus, they would pay me all the pay that I would have been paid over the summer. I stayed until June 11th. I received my bonus and my pay that I would have got over the summer. What they didn't tell me was that they were going to tax my bonus. So instead of receiving the $2,500 that I thought I was going to receive, I wound up receiving about $1,700. I applied for unemployment only to find out that somebody tried to apply for unemployment in my name a couple of days before. So I had to file a police report. And as time went on, I was able to get a financial determination, but then I had to do a protest of my wages because they did not have one of my jobs on there of when I worked for the census. In the midst of all of this, I was pregnant and I'm due in October of this year. During the whole time I was filing my unemployment every week, I was also going through what money that I did have saved. And it wasn't until closer to the end of August where I was able to apply for welfare. And the reason why I had to wait so long is because I had money in my bank account. So I had to wait until all of that money was exhausted. I was approved for food stamps and they asked me why I didn't apply for cash. And I explained to them that I did apply for unemployment and I'm just waiting for them to verify everything needs to be verified so I can get it. And then they said, well, you also qualify for medical coverage. I said I couldn't do because my old job is still paying for my medical coverage. And as long as I don't have any other medical coverage, they'll continue to pay for it through to September. And I say all of this to say that right now, because I didn't have any money, there was programs galore that could help me. And in the midst of all of this, I started getting shut off notices. So I got a shut off notice for gas, shut off notice for electric. I was able to apply for different programs to get help, but I still hadn't heard back from them yet. So what I started doing was applying for jobs. My person at ECS, Mr. Cordell Williams, he's been excellent with me. I would talk to him occasionally, tell him what was going on, and he would just give me different suggestions. So I applied for different jobs, and when I would do the interviews, I would be upfront and I would tell them I'm 7, 8 months pregnant. And all of a sudden, the atmosphere would change. Eventually, I did find a job, and it wound up actually being for the same company that I was working for before. I'm still teaching. Now I teach fourth and fifth grade, and I'm making $50,000, but I still have to play catch up with all the bills that I've accrued over the summer. And I knew the moment that I started making that $50,000, there would be no more help for me. The poverty guidelines are so low that anybody making 35,000 or more, there is no help for them, but yet we still struggle. And this is what I call the working poor. I still have this shut off notice from the gas company and Pico, but I have received my first paycheck, but I got to split this money. The income guidelines won't allow for me to, it says that I make too much money, that I make enough money where I don't need any help. But the reality of it is that I do need help. I just need people to really understand that people making $35,000 or more, they still need help. And that benefit cliff is real. And that benefit cliff makes you feel like maybe I shouldn't take this job because if I take this job, then I won't get the help that I need. There's a saying my mom used to say to us when we were younger. She would say, if a person's livelihood is based off of your dysfunction, how functional will they really make you? A lot of the issues that are going on in Philadelphia could be changed, but if they change them, if they fix them, then a lot of people will be out of a job. I have a lot more to say, but I know it's not a lot of time. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name is Leslie Bullard. I've been a member of ECS for 2 years, and I became a member of ECS because I got tired of the barriers that are systematically holding people like me and how it's affecting my life from me achieving the goals that I want to and not having the tools to combat it. In my life, I've been held back from many, many different opportunities for reasons that are unbeknownst to me. I've watched people who have worked the hardest, the most hours, and it meant nothing to people. Absolutely nothing. I can tell you about the time when I was up for a supervisor position, and I was so excited. But then I had to take a step back and think that if I take this supervisor position, will this economically help me or will it just give me a title? Because hourly, I was just making it, just above the line. But if I take the supervisor job position, I feel that it would have put me below the line. And I just couldn't do it. And my friends talked to me and said, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you take the supervisor job? Because I had to think about my future. I had to think about me as a person and what I want to be for the next 5 or 10 years. Do I want to be happy doing it? Or I just want to just be doing it? Racial inequality in this world has pitted one against another. I've seen it in my life at jobs that I've had, namely in warehouse jobs. I used to work as a forklift operator. And the way that I was looked at and viewed, even though I was a great worker, I was viewed as a person that could never, ever reach a certain step on the ladder to get closer to that hole in the ceiling. I only could look at it. I had people look at me just because of a facial expression and judge my whole character and judge whether I could be graduated into this training program. It just bothers me that in this world people don't take enough action to fight systematic inequality, lack of a living wage, and the benefits cliff, in which people that are in poverty affects their life in ways they have no idea. The benefit of everybody coming together and fighting this is that one, it will benefit you because a happy worker is a happy person. And that will benefit you monetarily as well as mentally. And you will feel better about giving that person a raise because they actually deserve it and not worrying about a profit margin. That's the benefit of everybody getting together, going to city council meetings, writing your congressmen or women, and just talking about it, having discussions. Because not one person can make a difference. Because one person made a difference in my life. It made me go from being a person that comes from Baltimore, Maryland, in the inner city, who has no idea direction where he was going at, moving to a different city where he's been residing at for 13 years and achieved a whole lot of the dreams that I never thought was possible. Me becoming, teaching myself how to sew and having a bow tie company. I had no idea 13 years ago I was going to do this. But that's because I learned tools and I've been around like-minded people who wanted to take action. So I need everybody to just try to take action and understand each one always teach one. Thank you.